Well, Jose, can you see some gold medals? Can I say yeah? I tell you what, today is a good day. So the reason, today, U.S. just won gold against Canada this morning. Yes. Second gold medal against Canada because the women just did it recently. And there's 6 Michigan players on the U.S. hockey team. The player who won the game-winning shot for the female team was from Michigan as well. Howe High School just clinched their division in hockey as well. We're getting ready to set up a whole new wave of players. I just love that our state and loves hockey, and just seeing it represented so well on a national stage. I have known nothing about hockey, but I just feel like a little connection, like Michigan's doing it. You go, Michigan. So that was so awesome. But we're not here today to talk about hockey. We're here today to talk about the Bible. Thank you so much for being here today. If this is your first time, let me introduce myself. My name is Brad. I'm the lead pastor here at Agape City Church. But we are wrapping up this series called Song of Songs. And this isn't like a unique series title. This is just the name of a book in the Bible. Not everybody knows this book in the Bible. This is probably one of the least read books in Scripture for a couple reasons. One, this book doesn't have a lot of doctrine and theology and rules, and so it doesn't get preached on a lot in churches. So that's one of the reasons it's not read as often. Another reason is in Hebrew culture, in the Torah and the scrolls and scriptures that they read, young men and women are not allowed to read this book. You're not allowed to read this book in Hebrew culture until you have your bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. So you have to be over the age of 13 to be able to read these texts. Because we've all been seeing over the course of this month, this whole book is about intimacy and relationships and falling in love and wooing your person to you, and then how do you nurture that relationship, and then what do you do when you guys are kind of on the outs and you're arguing. And this book has a lot of profound truths for what it looks like to pursue, court, and maintain a healthy relationship. And today, we're going to take this to the full end. So we're going to be coming to the end of this book, but we're also going to kind of come to this end of this relationship that we've been kind of peeking in on between the beloved and the man. Now, remember, if you have been with us up to this point, this book reads like a play. There's 3 main characters. There's the woman, the beloved. There's her friends, the maids, and then there's the man. Now, most scholars believe this is Solomon. They think this is King Solomon, who's the 3rd king of the nation of Israel, but they think this is early in his life. They think perhaps that he did have a true love, like a woman he actually loved and was monogamous with, and he loved her, but then something happened, and then after that is where you get the Solomon with the 700 wives and all the concubines, and he kind of goes off the rails there for a while. And so maybe that's what's happening here. Also, the word Solomon became synonymous with wisdom because he was the wisest king that Israel ever had. And he prayed specifically from God for wisdom from God. And so the Song of Solomon, this might just be wise words for how to fall in love, wise words for how to maintain love, and wise words to how to see love through all the way to the end. So whether this is Solomon's relationship personally, or this is just one of the best examples of any relationship corporately, these words still ring true. And they have rang true for thousands of years. Human beings, we're not that different. We think, we live in 2026 and we have, the internet and AI, and we think we're really advanced. But I'm telling you, in 70 AD and 30 AD and 600 BC, these human beings that walked the earth before us were you. They were flesh and bone, spirit and soul. They loved deeply. They created things, built things. Maybe they did it at a slower pace, but they didn't do it with any less passion. And then their time ended. And now it's our time. But the wisdom that they pass on, this should not be just shirked away as old school thinking or old whatever. No. They lived great lives, and they left wisdom so we could have great lives. So let's open up this text of wisdom about love, and let's complete it today. And let's see, can we bring any of this into the year 2026? And can we live this out now in a way so that we can have relationships like we see in this book. So let's do this together. If you have a Bible with you or a Bible app, open it up to Song of Songs or Song of Solomon, depending on what translation of the Bible you have. It's smack dab in the middle of your Bible if you have a physical Bible. It's smack dab in the middle. Go to your right, like a couple books, and you'll be there. And if you have a phone, just type in Song of Songs. Here we go. But we're going to go to chapter 7. So basically where we are in their relationship, and you've gone on this journey with us. They were young. They fell in love. We see language about seems like a betrothal, and like they kind of got married. And then we see, last week we talked about they kind of had a fight and an argument, and how do they, interact through all of that. And now we're coming to the end of this kind of story of their love and their marriage. But I really think this is a key moment in their relationship. So here's Solomon on kind of like laying on the couch, I imagine, with his wife laying next to him. I imagine her feet kind of kicked up across his lap. And I could see him kind of massaging her feet as he goes right back in saying those lovey-dovey words to his bride. He opens up verse 1. It says this: "How beautiful your sandaled feet, O princess daughter. Your graceful legs are like jewels, the work of an artist's hands." So yeah, so you see her I get that. I think the idea your sandals feet are so beautiful and they're across me and I'm just massaging them and you're just so great. And he's just doting on her. Again, notice the trajectory. How beautiful are your feet, and then your legs. And Solomon's a scanner, okay? He likes to scan the entire body. And so we're going to get a little bit awkward here because he's starting at feet. He's moving up to legs. And here's the thing. I think the reason that he's rubbing her feet, I think we find out about it in the next verse. Look at the next verse. Your navel is a rounded goblet that never lacks blended wine. Pause. Apparently, beloved is an innie, not an outie. The Bible's so wild to me. I grew up in 1980s, I was born in the 80s, and I grew up to the 80s and 90s. Do you all remember MTV Spring Break? Just me, I'm the only heathen in the room? Okay, so when I was growing up, for no good reason, MTV, this channel would show kids going down to Florida on spring break, like Daytona or Miami, doing the most debaucherous things ever, right? And MTV is you're following them. And why am I, as a 12-year-old boy, I'm watching MTV Spring Break, and I learned about this thing where people lay down and you put alcohol in someone's belly, and then someone else drinks it out of their belly, that. First off, that's disgusting, just a little lint, But I didn't know. I mean, that happened back then. But I didn't even know that I was watching Bible. That's Solomon did the first body shot of anybody. He's just look at your belly button. Just fill that with wine. It's a. I don't know. They love each other. They're weird. Your navel is round goblet that never lacks blended wine. Okay, but then look at this next line. Your waist is a mound of wheat encircled by lilies. Okay, guys, no. No, okay? And honestly, the wheat part is not the problem. I think I can explain the wheat part, in just a moment. How about we never use the word mound in describing our women's bellies, okay? Ever, all right? But here's what I think is happening. They've already been married. They've already had a fight. They've already gotten back together. He's rubbing her feet, I think, and he's noticing her belly and her belly button, and he says, and your belly is like a mound of wheat. Now, that's a bad word, but I think she's with child. I think she's pregnant. And he's doting over her until you're still beautiful. He's rubbing her feet and saying, I know you're uncomfortable, but I still think your feet are beautiful. I think your legs are beautiful. I still think you're beautiful. Your belly's like a mound of wheat. And remember, this is an agrarian society. To have a great harvest of wheat, this is something to be cherished. This is reproduction, right? Seeds turning into fruit, right? This is sustenance. This is your future. I think she's with child. Her belly's like a mound of wheat. You are growing our fruit of our love. You are growing our sustainability for the future. This child is going to take care of us when we're old. There's something beautiful happening here. And so I don't think it's as, crude as it might read initially, I think it's beautiful. And I think he's reminding her, hey, your body does look different than when we first got married. And it's still beautiful to me. Goes on, verse 3, and I told you, this is an awkward book, so let's get awkward. I didn't write this. Take it up with Solomon. God put it in the Bible, okay? Take it up with him. But Solomon says this to his bride. He says, your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle. Okay, so Solomon is still a fan of the fawns, all right? And he's letting her know it. And he's starting from her feet, and then your legs, and then your belly. And I still like the twins. And I'm not trying to be crude. He's doting over his wife. She doesn't feel beautiful. He's telling her, you are beautiful. He's telling her, I still cherish you. So Agape City Church, if this was a good thing to do in a relationship then, I'm telling you, it's good for us now. So the question I have for you is, how do you speak life to your partner, to your spouse, to your husband, to your wife? How do you speak life into them? And Solomon obviously is talking about her physical appearance and this specific instance, but for you all, yes, I think that's part of it. For those of us who've been in relationships for a long time, man, the death of almost any kind of passion is routine. And what happens is our marriages turn into these routines, and sometimes we forget to see our spouse with the fresh eyes that we saw them with when we started dating them or falling in love with them. And man, if we could just reawaken that passion for that first love, and I think part of that reawakening is speaking life over your spouse. You're beautiful. I'm still attracted to you. And you don't believe it, but you're going to have to hear me say it, because I believe it, because I know it's true, and saying what you are attracted about. But you and I know speaking life is not just about physical appearance. Like, are you actually encouraging your husband or your wife? Let me ask you this. Do you even know your husband's and wife's personal dreams? Like, do you talk about like, hey, I really want to, do this or that. Hey, I'm trying to go do that. Hey, I would like to run a half marathon this year. Hey, I'm thinking I want to, try to get into this. Like, do you ever tell your spouse your dreams and what you're aspiring to, what you're trying to accomplish? And then with that knowledge, do they speak life into you? I'll give you an example from my own personal marriage. And it's so weird. This is like complete backwards, but this is what's happening in my house right now. I have this goal in 2026. I'm trying to gain weight, okay? I know, it's hard to be me. But I'm trying to gain weight. I don't know what it is. I have this kind of fortitude. If I get busy in life, I'll just forget to eat, and food is not comforting to me. And so food is just not a big part of my life. And I need to gain a little bit of weight. So I'm talking to my wife about that. Like, babe, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. And so she's encouraging me. Leaving little notes out, little protein bars, hey, I found this powder, maybe you could try this. Hey, you should definitely, what if we clear up some time in a family schedule so you could get back into jujitsu, and we're working together. I'm not trying to better myself by myself. I truly have a partner who's putting some encouragement and some hope and speaking some life into me. And I try to be that for her and her dreams and what she's trying to accomplish, and also for your children. And so just understand that speaking life is a key part of love. And man, if you have something good to say to your spouse, say it as often as you can. It goes on, verse 4. Look what it says in verse 4. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are like the pools of Heshbon by the gate of Bath Rabbim. Your nose is like the tower of Lebanon looking towards Damascus. Okay, I can explain all this. These are banger lines, I'm telling you. These are great lines. They're just a little lost in translation. So, I would not encourage you to use these exact lines, but think about the sentiment, okay? First, he says, your eyes are like the pools of Heshbon. I keep trying to tell you all this. This is not like a story, okay? Chronicles of Narnia is a story. Lord of the Rings is a story. The Bible is a historical account of what happened. So when he says your eyes are like the pool of Heshbon, Heshbon is a real place. It's a place that they knew and they understood in a context. Heshbon looks like this. It's a pool. There's an upper pool. There's a lower pool down there. I put two photos together there. But what Heshbon is, it's this pool of really bluish green, bright water that kind of goes into these caves. There's little alcoves that are kind of all through this little cliff wall. And so he's saying your eyes are like the pools of Heshbon. I imagine that she probably has more fairer eyes. She probably has like hazel, kind of bluish green eyes that are going into these deep pupils, He's like, your eyes are radiant. I'm kind of thinking of her as, I don't know if you remember the cover of the National Geographic with the Afghan girl with the really green eyes, it's like, she's like, your feet are beautiful, your legs are beautiful, your mound, don't say mound, but your mound is still beautiful. The fawns are doing great. And I get lost in your eyes still. They're like the pool of Heshbon. Like he's speaking life into her. And then look at this next half. Go back to verse 4. The next half of verse 4. It says, and your nose is like the tower of Lebanon looking towards Damascus. Okay. It sounds like he's saying your nose is big, okay? Which is wild in so many contexts, but I don't think that's what he's saying. I think the use of the word tower here in context is you need to understand. Cities back then were vulnerable. They were vulnerable to attacks, to marauders, to nomadic, tribes coming in and these type of things. So, cities often had walls, and they didn't, and then their main defense was awareness. And so, in our culture, in our context, a lot of towers are just decorations around us. You go to the top of the Empire State Building, like, oh, cool, I could see, and like a lot of towers are just decorations. In their context, towers are safety. To be able to see from a tower, you could see an enemy while they're far off. While you're completely safe, you could be aware that a threat is coming. And then you have time to muster soldiers, to put a plan in place and to defend yourself when they get there. So he's basically saying, like, you're like this tower. You look out for me. Like, you care about my future. You care about what's coming my way in life. Like, you're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about me too. You're my tower. You're my defender. You are awareness for my good. Agape City Church, for those of you who are in relationships, are you actively looking out for each other? Looking out for them. If you know your spouse gets, tempted by this or that, or are you saying, hey, are you helping them avoid those temptations? If you know your spouse, gets worked up over this and this, are you helping to calm them down when they're in those situations? Like, are you seeing that you have an opportunity as a spouse, if you're in a relationship, to look out for your partner and to help them? This is what he's doing for her, and like it's just, you see this powerful relationship. It goes on then in verse 5. It says this, your head crowns you like Mount Carmel. This is her talking to him now. Your head crowns you like Mount Carmel. Your hair is like a royal tapestry. The king is held captive by its tresses. Again, these are real places that they understood in context. Mount Carmel is a mountain in the northeast of the Israel area, of the land of Israel. It's up by the Sea of Galilee. It's on the coast, kind of the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And because it's so far north and because it's so close to the Mediterranean Sea, Mount Carmel is actually one of the lushest, greenest mountains in the area. This is not Mount Hermon. This is not Mount Moriah. Those are very arid, dry mountains. This is Mount Carmel. Where he says, and she's saying your head is like the top of Mount Carmel. Like your dreadlocks. She's like, your hair and everything like that. And then he goes on the next verse, and she says this: let us go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, if their blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. And I see this idea, he's rubbing her feet, he's telling her you're still beautiful. And she's like, and you're beautiful too, and I love your hair. And then she gets this idea. She says, let us get up and let's go early out to the vineyard to see if they're budded. And let's go walk among the blossoms. And I'll give you my love there. She said, let's go on a date. Let's go do something different. Let's get up earlier than normal. Let's just go walk into the fields together. Let's just hold hands. Let's just be around each other. I believe all relationships, the death of so many relationships is routine. And so we have to get some spontaneity into relationship. And so I wrote this question specifically. How do you plan spontaneity? Because here's what I find. In all the years I've been doing marriage counseling as a pastor and maybe a premarital counseling with couples getting ready to be married, and all those times I talk to couples, it seems like almost every single couple, there's one person who loves spontaneity and there's one person who's no fun at all. And no, but there's usually like a person who's like, more spontaneous, and probably another person who would prefer a heads up, right? And so I'm talking to you, to the person who does not enjoy spontaneity. It's not natural for you. Okay, you still need to plan it. Okay, plan some spontaneity. Plan a trip, plan time to get out of town, plan a couple hours in a day to go do something, and it doesn't have to cost money. I understand where we are in this time of the economy that travel costs so much money, eating out costs so much money, and there are real couples who are like, they need a date, they need some time together, they need something out of the routine, and the Satan is in their head saying, well, we can't afford to go out and eat once a week. We can't afford to go on a trip once a year, or whatever that thing is. But man, this is not about money or affording. This is about blocking time that says, my focus will be on my bride on this during this time. And it doesn't have to cost money. Let's go for a walk. Let's just go sit in a people watch downtown. Let's just go put ourselves in a different environment, a unique environment. And let's just remind ourselves that we enjoy being around each other. You see, when you do new experiences together, you experience each other in new ways every single time. And the problem is our lives get so swept up into routines. And I get it. I totally get it. I have children. Once you have children, it's wild. Your children, they get into this system, right? The school system. And once they're in the school system, they're on a schedule. That's not your schedule. It's the school schedule. We wake up at this time in our house, and we get out the door at this time, and then we get our children to school at this time, and then we have to get what we need to get done their day by this time, because we have to make sure someone's home to get the girls at this time. And then the girls have, practice at this, and they gotta do that, and then we have this event we gotta do, boom, and then we gotta make sure we go to bed at an early time, and then my wife and I are so tired, and then we just collapse in bed, and then you just do it again. And months turn into years. And now I have a junior who's about to graduate high school. We have to slow down. We have to slow time down. And I think part of slowing it down is putting in spontaneity, putting in intentional pauses for no other reason is to enjoy your person and to enjoy what life is giving you. It goes on, verse 13, it says this, the mandrakes, and mandrakes are this food, it's kind of like an aphrodisiac. It's a romantic food to eat, right? And she's like, mandrakes send out their fragrance, and at our door is every delicacy, both new and old, and I love that line, both new and old, that I have stored up for you, my beloved. It says, we have these delicacy, both new and old. Here's the thing, as you're in this relationship, you're gonna have patterns, right? Your children in school, you're gonna have patterns. If you date long enough, you're gonna go to the same restaurant on a date night or whatever. You're gonna have these patterns. But we need to cherish the new and the old. So here's my challenge to you, and for something for you to consider is, how do you have new experiences, but while honoring old patterns? Some of you, I'm telling you, that love is still in there. You're just in a routine. And maybe you need to have a new experience to awaken you out of that routine. And so we need to find a way to have spontaneous experiences, because you'll experience your person in a new way, in a new environment, and you're going to be reminded how much you love them and love being around them. And then we want to honor the pattern. There's nothing wrong with having a pattern, and that's good and stable. But man, maybe we need to put in a little bit of something new in there so that the love stays new. Then we go over to chapter 8. And chapter 8, we're skipping to verse 5, and it says this: who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? And you literally lean on me, right? So they're coming back from this walk. This is the bridesmaids. And you're like, oh, look at her. She loves him. And she's leaning on him. And you just see that this love that they have. But understand, this love that they have is not puppy dog love anymore. This is covenantal commitment. He is her person. She is his everything. They physically lean on each other. And then look what they say, how they describe love, verse 6. Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm, for love is as strong as death. It's jealousy unwielding as the grave. It burns like a blazing fire, like a mighty flame. Love as strong as death. Death is inevitable. Nothing will stop it. It is coming for every single one of us. But that's the strength that love should be. It should be inevitable. Nothing should stop it. And nothing's going to keep my love from coming for who you are and going after you and pursuing you and wanting to know you more and be closer to you and wanting you to know me more. Like we need to lean into this and understand that that love should even outlast through death. I'm kind of a romantic. You kind of probably got the idea through this series. And there's a poem by Edgar Allan Poe that's very personal to me that I love very much, called Annabel Lee. Edgar Allan Poe wrote this poem, and pretty much every year on my anniversary, when I post, the obligatory social media post for my anniversary, I usually put some kind of line from Annabel Lee in there, or I call my wife my Annabel Lee, and for me, what that means is this. In the middle of the poem, there's a beautiful stanza. And it says, when I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee. We loved with a love so great that the angels in heaven coveted her and me. And that was the reason why all men know in the kingdom by the sea that a wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee. The poem goes on, talks about how she got sick and how she passes away and how he loves her so much, even after she's gone. A love that is more than love. A love that is more than death. A love that is the truest love. That's what we want for every marriage. That's what God wants for every marriage. Like this union, that's why Ephesians says like our marriage is a mystery, because this union is a little microcosm of God's perfect love for us on this earth. Now, we all don't get perfect marriages. And I think that's the Satan. I think that's why the Satan attacks marriages so much. It blows my mind that the divorce rate outside the church is like, it's over 50% now. The divorce rate in the church, it's still 50%. Like it's the same, because I think it's the same attacks. I think it's the same lies. I think the Satan is coming after marriages because I think God said marriages model his perfect love for us. So I think if Satan can make us disillusioned with marriages and nobody sticks together and nobody ever does, it's just impossible to really commit to someone, and then I think we can doubt that God would really love us as well. I think we have to fight for marriages. I think we need to protect marriages. Whether you're in one or not, I think you need to strengthen the marriages around you. And it's to death. It is to death that we need to love our spouses. So let me ask you this, Agape City Church. How do you take care of your husband? How do you take care of your wife? How do you take care of you single people? How do you take care of your friends who are married? How do you strengthen their marriage? How do we do this? Because I think it matters. I think it absolutely matters that we lean into these things and we strengthen these things, because I think that Satan wants to disillusion people from what God is doing in us. So I want to share a story with you. And this story is not to shame anybody. This story is not to convict anybody. I just want to show you love done well. Because I think we have to love, especially if you're in a covenantal relationship, I think we have to love all the way to the end. For the first the first 8 years of my ministerial career, I was a youth pastor. And so much of my counseling and my meeting was always with younger, like high school students and college age students, and who were single but dating, and they were in the falling in love season of life. And so much of my wisdom early on in ministry was like, slow down, like slow it down, like so much of my wisdom was like, just like trying to just put love on a pace, slow it down, it's going to be all right, and work with youth and teens and young adults. And now I'm 45 and I'm a lead pastor, and now I'm working with like married couples, and I'm like, do you all even like each other? Like, let's go, like speed it up. You know what I'm saying? Like these kids, they're kids like, hey pastor, how far is too far? And like that's definitely that question. The question alone is too far. You already crossed the line, And then and then when the kids they talk about going all the way, right? And like they're talking about baseball. I think we need married couples, mature married couples, who are willing to go all the way. I'm not talking about a baseball diamond. I'm talking about till death. You are my person. I am yours. I made a covenant with the living God. It had nothing to do with you. It was about you, but I made it to God. And I told that God, I will love, honor, and cherish you in sickness and in health until death do us part. And I'm keeping my word because I love you. I'm going to go all the way. And we need more husbands willing to do that. We need more wives willing to do that. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm not trying to judge anybody. But we need a model the way it should be. And then I learned of a beautiful object lesson of this from a man named Robert McQuilkin. Robert McQuilkin was the president of Columbia Christian University. This is a Christian school in British Columbia in Canada. And he was president of that school for 20 some years. His whole life was academia. He went into academia and he got married, but his dream was to be a college professor and then be in administration. And then he got to the point where he's the president of this institution of higher learning, and it was his joy to serve in that role. And then in 1990s, his wife started to get sick, and she had dementia. And the school was great. They were trying to help him out as best that they could. They gave her in-home care, and they gave them housing on campus, so Robert didn't have to commute. He could get home if she needed him immediately, and so they had in-home care, and they brought him on campus. But as her sickness progressed, she started to get scared. When she didn't see Robert, she forgot he was coming back. She thought maybe he had died, and she was just getting really confused. She was getting angry. She was getting kind of violent, and Robert knew what he had to do. And so in 1996, Robert McQuilkin stood in front of his entire school body, and he delivered this speech. And I just want to share this with you.
I haven't in my life experienced easy decision-making on major decisions, but one of the simplest and clearest decisions I've had to make is this one, because circumstances dictated it. Muriel, now, in the last couple of months, seems to be almost happy when with me, and almost never happy when not with me. In fact, she seems to feel trapped, becomes very fearful, sometimes almost terror. And when she can't get to me, there can be anger. She's in distress. But when I'm with her, she's happy and contented. And so I must be with her at all times. And you see, it's not only that I promised in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And I'm a man of my word. But as I have said, I don't know with this group, but I've said publicly, it's the only fair thing. She sacrificed for me for 40 years to make my life possible. So, if I cared for her for 40 years, I'd still be in debt. However, there's much more. It's not that I have to, it's that I get to. I love her very dearly, and you can tell it's not easy to talk about. She's a delight. It's a great honor to care for such a wonderful person.
In sickness and in health, till death do us part. I love you. This series is not to shame anybody who's single. And it's not about shaming anybody who's gone through the pain of divorce. It's about proclaiming God's truth. Love is a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a tool to help sanctify us. And if you're single and you're content, man, that's totally fine. You're not missing anything. Paul says in Corinthians, you're complete and whole in Jesus Christ. Go and love and do ministry well in his name. If you're single and looking, like, keep pursuing love like this. Don't settle for just cheap dopamine. Find your soulmate and then make a covenant like this and go all the way. For those who are in marriages, protect them. Protect them. See how valuable they are. You hear a story about Robert McQuilkin, and we're moved. We have an emotional response to that. That's because we know what to honor. I do a lot of weddings. I do a lot of weddings. And from time to time, you go to a wedding and they have that dance. You know, the dance where they're like, we need all the married couples on the dance floor, right? And then they start dancing. And if you've been married 5 years, stay on the dance floor. And if you've been married, 10 years, stay on the dance floor. And then eventually, everybody's leaving the floor. And it gets down to just the old wrinkly couple, they're like, And then they stop the music and then everybody applauds. And then they put a microphone to the people and they say, what was your secret? And they give some advice, right? There's no judgment. I'm not trying to judge anybody. But you know what you will never see? You'll never go to a wedding and they're going to be like, hey, if this is your second marriage, stay on the dance floor. If this is your third marriage, stay on the dance floor. Because you can take God out of it. Society does not honor jumping in and out of relationships. It honors commitment. Because we know what it takes to fully commit to someone. And if you have gone through the pain of divorce, I think the reason that Malachi 2 says God hates divorce is because just that. He hates divorce. He hates the pain that it caused. I don't think he hates divorced people. I think he hates that you bonded so closely with another human being and then your heart was ripped out and that now you're doubting, is it even worth loving again? I think God hates that the Satan planted that seed in you from someone else's evil actions or whatever happened with that relationship. So please understand the heart of the series is not judging you and shaming you. It's inspiring you. Those who are in marriages, fight for them. It's worth it. Those who are single and looking, look for this good, biblical love, covenantal love, monogamous love. And if you're single and content, you need to know Jerry Maguire had it wrong. Jerry Maguire looked at his girl and said, you complete me. Your spouse does not complete you. Your completion comes with a personal relationship with Jesus Christ as Lord. You're whole if you know Jesus. A spouse is just an opportunity to practice more. But you are whole if you are single and content, so don't feel like you're missing anything there. But for all of us at Agape City Church, may we realize this. The reason we love the way we do is because it models the love that God has for this world.